Welcome,
Rigster,
Big MC, and the Baker Boy himself.
What is it that we are meant to actually do?
The right thing is not always the easy thing.
There is a starting over. There is a forgiveness you can receive.
You came up with a certain point here.
It's a whole nother topic.
I knew that I believed in God. I didn't know what God to believe in.
Welcome to the world, man.
And a very merry birthday to all you Mad Hatters. From WJM Studios, deep in the midst of chaos, it's the Next Generation podcast for the next generation. Welcome back to The World Gone Mad, the least listened to podcast on the internet. I'm your crazy white fan host, the Baker Boy himself. And speaking of chaos, I have a question for you. Have you happened to watch any good YouTube videos lately? Have you been watching anything in the news? Maybe picked up a newspaper. If that's the case, then you have most definitely heard of the one Derrion Albert, age 16 years old, from Chicago, Illinois. He's from the South Side, and here's this guy that's been beaten down in a rage of violence. He has been killed by his own peers 3 blocks away from Fenger High School. 3 blocks away, folks, okay? We're not talking in the middle of the ghetto with gangs all around. 3 blocks away from his high school is a result from a gang shooting earlier on that day. I'm trying to understand this, and I'm having a pretty difficult time doing it. Why the death? Why the gang violence? Why the fight? I'm just not following it. Maybe you can help me out, because it all seems a little senseless to me. Do you remember the 8 girls from last year where they kidnapped one of their friends who's also a cheerleader? Those are 8 cheerleaders. They kidnapped their friend, take them over to their house. They got a couple of guys standing on the outside of the house as lookouts. They're looking out for anybody who might be coming home at that time. They have the cheerleaders in the house along with his friend who's, I guess, drugged, and she comes out of it. She comes out of the sleeping agent or whatever. They just start beating the heck out of this girl. And why did they do all this? For a thing called e-fame. They want to be famous on YouTube, wanted to be famous across the internet. Something is striking me here that I'm not quite, I'm not quite following. That people today are trading things that are so precious, like life, at least that some people value, for things not so precious, such as fame, jewelry, money. There was an interview for Nas, the rapper Nas, here recently, I think it was by CNN, and they're interviewing this guy, and they're saying, so the lyrics that you had back then, is that one of the results you think that could have been happening here with the gang, how your lyrics are so violent? And he says, no, it's not about that. He remembers kids getting killed over Fila sneakers, 8-ball jackets. If you remember, it was very, very popular. It was a quick fad. It was in and out. It was kind of like cross colors. But 8-ball jackets, boom, man. You were wearing one of them, and you're out in an area that may not be as safe. Your 8-ball jacket is gone, and you are dead. And why? So that they can have your jacket. It doesn't seem, maybe help me out with this, guys, because it all seems rather senseless.
Yeah. I think it's, we talked a little bit about this, Baker Boy, the whole idea of entitlement. I don't have the money. You've got something I want, and why shouldn't I have that? And so whatever it takes to get it, I'm going to take it. And, the beating, I think that has something to do with revenge. And it didn't matter who got hurt. Someone needed to pay, and the young man was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I'm not saying that's right, but we live in a very angry world. And
wait a minute. I'm going to interrupt you there.
Go right
because
ahead.
You said the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
He was 3 blocks away from school.
I know.
But how can that be the wrong place?
It
kid's on his way home.
I understand that, and you wouldn't classify that as a wrong place. But
it might have been
what happened. At this point, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time. He got killed.
Of course, we don't know what was leading up to this. Any place might have been the wrong place, the wrong time for this kid. I mean, we don't know what was going on at school. I'm not blaming the kid, but something obviously happened to precipitate this violence. And it could have happened, I think, any place. But how much does acceptance play into this? You know, you do things to be accepted in your friend's eyes by committing a crime, by doing something that gets you recognized, as you mentioned.
Right.
You know, and you get accepted because, hey, I did something cool. Look at me. And that now, how do you like me now type of thing?
Well, you got to look at that. And I've never been in a gang, understand, but what I've understood about gangs is that gangs are like family. And if you are in a gang, you are protected. And if you kill someone, as I understand it, then you are even higher up on the ranks and the echelon of what a gang is all about. And so it's almost like a status symbol. And that's a cool thing. And I guess it's one of those situations that I believe a lot of gang members are probably scared because they never know one day to the next if they're going to live. But you've got enough deaths on your belt or whatever, people are afraid of you, and you've got a little safety that way. And so I think it's a real messed up thought life in figuring out I'm all about me, and it's all centers around the individual, nobody else. And I'm going to bring it in because I think it's very important. But we can see where God is being pushed farther and farther and farther out of society, and everybody does their own thing, what's right in their own eyes, that it's got to be going this way because we are desperately evil people, whether we like it or not.
It seems to me the value system is completely screwed up, where people are valuing stuff more than life, where people are valuing acceptance, where they could have that acceptance at home more than they're valuing their own life. And if they're not accepted, what do? They pick up a gun, they go to the nearest mall and take out a bunch of people so that they can have their fame, so that they can go down in flames, so to speak. We remember the story of the guy who was turned down by his girlfriend, turned down for a job at McDonald's, which I think everybody just gleams and really wants to be a part of. And so he says, you know what, that's it, my life is over. This guy was a teenager, goes to a mall, starts shooting a bunch of people, gets taken out. And why?
See, I've always found it intriguing. If you look in the history book, I won't even mention names of the people, but we know the names of the people who assassinate our presidents. We know the names of people who have done notorious crimes. We've done movies about these people. So there's something that draws people to these criminal types, to these violent acts, and people want to do these things because, you said, there is some fame attached to it, and we allow that to happen.
Okay, that seems rather empty, to have this empty fame. So what could they achieve, or what could they strive for that would be a little more fulfilling than a 15 minutes of fame?
What could they strive for? Such as, let me read something to you here. Okay, it says in the Bible, this is Paul talking to Timothy, who happened to be a young kid. He says, you may as well know this too, Timothy, that in the last days it's going to be very difficult to be a Christian. For people will love only themselves and their money. They will be proud and boastful, sneering at God, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful to them, and thoroughly bad. They will be hard-headed and never give in to others. They will be constant liars and troublemakers and will think nothing of immorality. And we can see where that's going because God is out of the picture.
And I'm not going to read the scripture, but Paul talks about the acts of the sinful nature, and some of the things he mentions are things like hatred, discord, rage, murder, ambition, and so forth. But he also says the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, etc. Those are the things we need to be striving for in our lives, not the anger and the violence that people seem to be striving for.
It seems very black and white what we're discussing. We have simple morals, which I believe people understand. Striving for good things, striving to love others, which is written time and time again over in the Bible. Love others as yourself. Love your neighbors as yourself. Love even your enemies. Pray for your enemies. This seems to me not only just black and white, but almost crystal clear how it's scripted for us. So we have some decisions that we can make. We can continue to live out this lifestyle where we're killing others for some small chunk of fame, which will disappear like a vapor, or we can kill them for their stuff, their watches, their jewelry, their sneakers. Or perhaps we can say, I salute, good for you. You got some Fila sneakers. You got an 8-ball jacket. You're on the news. Great. God bless you. Go, whatever. Live your life otherwise. Live your life according to, hey, how can I help others? How can I serve others?